All right, so let's take a look here and let's go and start off the game here by adding in the two squares. So let's kind of hop above our update function here and we'll call this spawn left square. And this will do exactly what it says. It will spawn the left square. So we're going to go to left square is equal to sk sprite node. And we'll make it equal to a color. And in this case, we'll just do, for example, off-white color. The size will be square size, right? And then let's do left square dot size is equal to square size again. You want to add that in here just in case you want to add in your own art. It saves you a bit of time later on. Okay, what we'll do is we'll add in a position. We'll say left square dot position is equal to CG point, because you need to give it a point, and that's how you do it. And within here we need a double, and within that double here we're going to say CG rect get mid x, and we can do mid or we can do min x. Okay, and then we'll do self.frame. So this will put it the minimum x value, and that will put it somewhere along the left hand side because it's the min. And we're going to add in plus, let's just say 350 for the time, or let's say 250 for the time being. Okay, and that's going to set it for the min plus 250. We might have to play around with this later. Let's go to CG rect get mid y self.frame. So we're going to put this in the middle. Okay, so we're not going to add in an offset or anything like that there. Okay, let's go to left square dot name is equal to left square name, and what that's going to do is that's going to well, we can go and compare that string variable in an if statement. And lastly, we're going to go to self.addChild and we're going to go to left square. And that way it'll add this child here. Now, if we want to, we can copy and paste this, except we'll do spawn right square, and then we'll do right square. But we'll also say off black color, so we want to set that up here. So the right square will be the off black color. You want to make sure that you set everything up here. Except for CGRect get min x, we're going to say get max x, and then instead of adding 250, we're going to subtract 250. So max x puts it all the way to the right, and then it will subtract it. All right, and then we have right square name is going to be right square name, and then it's going to be right square. Okay. Let's go ahead, let's add in our labels here. We're going to go to function spawn LBL main, and we're going to go to LBL main is equal to sk label node, and we'll add in a font name. We'll say this is Futura because that's the way I like to use my fonts here. You can add in your own font if you wish. And we will say that LBL main dot font size is equal to, let's say, 60. LBL main dot font color, and what we'll do is we'll say that this is equal to off white color, and we're going to go to LBL main dot, and then we're going to say position is equal to CG point, and we're going to give a CG rect get mid x self dot frame. It's going to put it in the middle, and then CG rect get mid y self dot frame. It's going to put it in the middle, but we don't want it in the middle. What we're going to do is we're going to say plus 200. All right, and then we're going to say LBL main dot text is equal to tap white square, because you always want to be tapping the right square. Then we're going to go to self.addChild, and we're going to go to LBL main. Okay, and there you go. So let's go and let's copy and paste that in here. Except we're going to go to spawn LBL score, and then we're going to type in LBL score here. We'll copy and paste that there. The font size will be 40 this time. The font color, we can make it off-white. And the position here, instead of adding 200, let's subtract 200. LBL score.text is going to equal to score. We want to print the word score, and then we're going to print the variable score by adding in that backslash and brackets. And we're going to add in the score here. So let's go ahead and let's set everything up here. So we're going to go to spawn LBL main, spawn LBL score, spawn left square, and then spawn the right square. And you put this in the override function because that's the function that gets called when you start the actual game. So we run this here, and there you go. Well, it kind of looks good, but we could do a little bit better. Okay. So let's go to the left square here. Let's make it 350 and 350. So let's run that and let's see if that looks. We'll solve one problem at a time. And yeah, that's looking a bit better. Maybe 450 and 450 might be a bit better. Let's take a look at that here. And we'll just make sure that it's playable here. And 450 was definitely too much. So let's say 400 and 400. And we'll go ahead and run it just like that. And yeah, that's probably pretty good. So this is all looking great, except for, let's go to tap the white square. This needs to be something like 40 instead. And let's go and let's run that, because we want this on the screen, and that's pretty good. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to say tap the white square. I'm going to put it all in caps because that's something that's really modern. A lot of people like to put everything in caps, and then you still have to bring it down just a bit. So make it 35. And while we're making everything capitalized, let's make the score capitalized as well. And there you go. That looks pretty good. Tap the white square. Okay, there you go. So you have to tap the white square. Now, if you really want to, you could go and you could change the size of this to, let's say, 200. Let's see how that looks. Do the squares need to be bigger or smaller? It's up to you, but let's take a look and see how that affects our game here. And that actually doesn't look too bad. In fact, I kind of like it a bit bigger. Let's maybe do 180 instead of 200, and let's take a look at that here. And the other thing I should point out is I'm going to show you something. You see how there's a margin in there? You want that margin to be, well, maybe just a bit bigger. So we're going to say plus 410 and then minus 410. Now, if you really wanted to, you could say, you could add in a variable here. We could call this square offset, and we'll make that equal to 410. And what you could do is you could add in square offset, and that way, okay, and this way here, and by the way, it will come up with an error. It says cannot be applied CG float here. So you have to make this a CG float because the CG rect get max. The CG rect is a CG float, so you can only subtract a CG float from a CG float. And if we copy that in here and paste it, you can do that, and you can only set it once. Okay, so yeah, that's looking pretty good. All right, now just being a little bit picky, maybe we could set this down to 300, and that will move the score down to the bottom. That doesn't. That probably looks pretty good. And there you go. All right, so we now have our square set up. This concludes the tutorial.